It's nighttime in Gotham City, and her residents are taking their repose when a strange voice comes crackling over the wireless, interrupting the evening's entertainment.
Tonight at precisely 12 o'clock midnight, I will kill Henry Claridge and steal the Claridge diamond. Don't try to stop me, the Joker has spoken.
Fear-stricken, Claridge calls the police. A dozen boys in blue form a cordon around Mr. Claridge, but seconds after the clock chimes midnight, Claridge begins to choke, writhing in his pinstripe suit, dies, his face twisted into a ghoulish smile. Gotham's finest check the safe. Diamond is gone, replaced by a worthless hunk of glass, and underneath the Joker's calling card. That is how the Joker introduced himself to the world. Batman #1, April 1940. Reading it today, it's striking how much of the Clown Prince of Crime's character is established just in that first issue. It is all there. The chalk-white face, the green hair, the purple suit, the terroristic threats broadcast over mass media, the use of chemicals, particularly the poison that would come to be known as Smilex, his love of disguises, his fondness for attacking Robin in order to hurt Batman, his elusiveness, and of course that smile, the corners of his mouth angled sharply like devil horns. The Joker's creation is credited to three men, writer Bill Finger, writer and artist Bob Kane, and artist Jerry Robinson. As with many other collaborative works, particularly in comics, who contributed what and when and how much is disputed. What we can say definitively is the Joker was inspired by the character Gwynplaine, played by Conrad Veidt in the 1928 silent film The Man Who Laughs. Adapted from the Victor Hugo novel of the same name, the film tells the story of a man whose face is frozen in a ghoulish smile. Before the Joker's appearance, Batman, who debuted the previous year in Detective Comics #27, had been battling with street-level criminals, gangsters, thieves, the odd mad scientists thrown in for flavor. What the world's greatest detective needed was an arch-nemesis, his Moriarty, and then came the Joker. He was gleeful where Batman was grim, colorful where Batman was gray, chaotic and creative where Batman was disciplined and rigid. The murderous clown from nowhere was the perfect foil for Bruce Wayne. Joker would appear in 9 of the first dozen issues of Batman. His early run was bloodstained. Comics of that era, the so-called Golden Age, were essentially an offshoot of the cheaply produced crime and horror magazines of the day, known as Pulp Fiction, and audiences had an appetite for violence. America in 1940 had only just begun to recover from the Great Depression, and the lurid crime sprees of the 1930s, perpetrated by Bonnie and Clyde, Babyface Nelson, John Dillinger, and others, saw criminality and entertainment become intertwined in the public consciousness. Over time, however, as post-war America's "we conquered the world" optimism crested, the Joker's mass murdering ways were softened. He became a colorful thief and master strategist, pulling off gimmicky bank heists and capers. In Rackety Rack's Racket from 1945's Batman #32, the Joker and his gang disguise themselves as fraternity pledges so they can commit smash and grab robberies under the cover of college boys will be boys doing drunken pranks. Later, he sets the building on fire so his goons can rob a jewelry store dressed as firemen. Joker's Millions from 1952's Detective Comics #180 saw the Joker, much to his own surprise, inheriting a fortune from a deceased mobster. He sort of goes straight, buying tailored suits, going out in the town and stuff, and later he discovers his windfall is largely counterfeit and gets in deep shit with the IRS. In the Joker Jury from 1964's Batman #163, the clown lures Batman and Robin to his hideout, where he promptly puts them on trial in front of a jury made up of his own henchmen dressed like him and wearing Joker clown masks. The Batman universe, Joker included, got a pow-bang popularity boost with the creation of the Batman television show. Running from 1906 to 1968, the series introduced Bruce Wayne and his rogues gallery to millions of new fans. Veteran actor Cesar Romero was cast as the Joker despite refusing to shave his mustache, and attentive viewers can see it lurking there under the white face paint. For many, the show, with its campy, cartoonish sensibilities, wild vehicles, kooky weapons, henchmen in matching newsboy caps, came to define the substance and tone of the Batman universe, leaving the Joker mired as a cackling and largely harmless buffoon. The course correction came in the 1970s, when the iconic creative duo of writer Dennis O'Neil and artist Neil Adams turned off the lights and let the darkness back in. Batman #251, Joker's Five-Way Revenge from 1973, saw the clown returning to his murderous roots after escaping from an unnamed mental hospital for the criminally insane. The iconic name Arkham Asylum would not be attached to this hospital until 7 issues later. The Joker begins bumping off his old minions one by one, and it all culminates in a confrontation which touches on the bizarre, almost psychosexual relationship between the Joker and the Batman. Joker, as one of his ex-henchmen, now old and wheelchair-bound, hoisted over a shark tank, the Joker gives Batman an ultimatum. Let me chain your hands behind your back and enter enter the Shark Tank, and I will let the man go free. Batman readily agrees, meekly allowing the Joker to manacle his hands. The Joker's schemes always had a strange interior logic, and he delights in using laws and rules in unexpected ways. For example, in The Laughing Fish from 1978's Detective Comics number 475, truly one of the wildest two-parters ever, Joker poisons the seafood supply with Smilex, causing all the fish to have Joker faces. He then marches into the copyright office in order to copyright basically all fish. I'll get a cut of every fish sale in America, he cackles. A handful of stories from the 1980s took the Joker to ever more darker, more violent, more depraved territory. Frank Miller's hugely influential Batman The Dark Knight Returns limited series took Gotham decades into the future. Batman and the rest of the Justice League have hung up their capes. Jason Todd is dead, murdered by the Joker. Superman, still the Boy Scout, is a lackey of a right-wing president. The city is a rotten, crime-ridden cesspool, and Wayne, now 55 years old, comes out of retirement to do some cleanup. The Joker manages to convince his doctors that he's now sane and finagles an appearance on a late-night talk show where he promptly kills everybody. Everybody in the studio. Batman tracks him to a county fair. The two have a vicious, no-holds-barred fight, with the Joker stabbing the Batman repeatedly in the guts. Batman, finally realizing this twisted relationship and his adherence to non-lethal solutions for Gotham's most lethal supercriminal must now come to an end, breaks the Joker's neck. But ultimately, he can't bring himself to go all the way. So paralyzed but still alive, the Joker, laughing, wriggles and writhes until he snaps his own spinal cord, killing himself. The 1988 one-shot Batman The Killing Joke by Alan Moore and artist Brian Ballard upped the revolting violence further still. This story fleshes out the Joker's pretty spare backstory as a struggling stand-up comedian who falls into a vat of chemicals during a botched robbery. Emerging as the killer clown, he later shoots Barbara Gordon, Commissioner Gordon's daughter, paralyzing her, sexually assaults her while taking photos, then chains up Commissioner Gordon and forces him to look at the pictures. Cool story. Then in 1988, A Death in the Family, written by Jim Starlin, with art by Jim Aparo. So the Joker beat Robin into unconsciousness with a crowbar. So the boy wonder's long-lost mother looked on in horror, and then he blows them both up with a bomb. Then came 1989, Batman the movie, directed by Tim Burton, which featured the Joker, played by the legendary Jack Nicholson. That movie retconned Batman's history so that the Joker was actually the person who shot Thomas and Martha Wayne in Crime Alley, thus setting Bruce Wayne on the path to becoming the Caped Crusader. Jack Nicholson is electric and super, super weird as the Joker. Strangely, not quite as influential as Romero. In the 90s, Batman the Animated Series ran regularly on TV screens across America. This introduced the Joker to a whole new generation of fans, voiced by Mark Hamill, and honestly his most influential role since Luke Skywalker. Hamill is a really evil, icy, almost satanic presence as the Joker, and a lot of the stories in that were repurposed from earlier comics. Heath Ledger in 2008's The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan. Ledger is twitchy and strange and takes the Joker into really disconcerting places with the facial scars and the constant lying about his background. And this depiction of a really kind of revolting, hard to look at Joker was pretty influential on the comics. In 2016, Suicide Squad by David Ayer, Jared Leto plays the Joker as kind of like a SoundCloud rapper, and honestly, the less said about it, the better. Then comes Joker by Todd Phillips. Joaquin Phoenix plays the Joker in this movie, and it is really the portrait of a person suffering from severe mental illness. You know, the Joker has always been kind of depicted as quote-unquote crazy, but, you know, the Joker of the past was this master heist man, this strategist, this criminal mastermind. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker could not plan beyond, like, the next 5 minutes. It's a really different take on the Joker that pretty compellingly depicts him as a symbol for other people's frustrations and gives us really the most compelling reason that people would follow the Joker. Todd Phillips' Joker explains that by making Joker a symbol for anger and frustrations en masse. He doesn't actually stand for anything, but people believe he stands for something. And the support he gets from the public is kind of like a cresting wave that he has very little to do with. Will this story be influential in the same way that Heath Ledger's depiction was, in the same way that Cesar Romero and the Batman television show of the 60s was? Remains to be seen.